What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and happy Friday to all of you out there. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. In today's video, well, we have updates, you guys. Yes, that's right, we are going to see some Tide Them Over updates coming our way for the 619 update. That is also going to include the return of Dream Match. So there's a lot of information to go over in today's video. We're also going to be reacting to Manager Kiki's latest dev video over on his official YouTube channel. So there's a lot of information to go over here in today's video. But before we go ahead and get into all of that and more, make sure if you guys haven't already done so, you smash that like button and subscribe. And without further ado, you know what time it is. Cue that intro. Alright, you guys, so in today's video we are going to be going over all of the updates coming with the 619 update. So the first thing I want to go ahead and talk about here is of course going to be the in-game event notice, but then we are also going to have a few other details that we need to go over with this update, because there is going to be several different things that are going to be rolled into this. So the first thing I want to talk about here in the in-game event notice, and as always I will have links in the description to all this. As you guys can see, this stuff is going to be available on 6/19 at 18 PDT. So basically, this is going to be about 8 p.m. on Sunday for me. You'll have to adjust accordingly for your own time zone to figure out when this will all be updated. But basically what that means is on Sunday, we are going to have an early update. So you are going to want to make sure that you get all of your dailies done early. That way you guys may or may not miss out on anything. I don't know if there's going to be a maintenance one way or the other. They don't necessarily outline that or mention that in here. However, it's better to be safe than sorry, so just make sure on Sunday before 8 p.m. Central Standard Time that you get all of your dailies done, just in case the game were to go down for whatever reason, especially considering the fact that that is very close to reset, and of course Monday is going to be payday, so you want to make sure that you get all of your stuff done. So with that being said, let's talk about what's coming with the update. Now, it isn't a whole lot, but there are some pretty interesting things here. First thing's going to be new login bonus. Now, this is something that pretty much is going to be a harbinger of a new limited banner coming our way. We'll probably start hearing things about it towards the middle of next week, and then we'll probably know exactly what it is by then. And then by the end of the week, we'll have some sort of update notice letting us know that the following week, we're probably going to see that stuff added into the game. So we are going to be having a new Ruby login bonus, as you guys can see. This time around, it is going to be all rubies, so there are not going to be any summon tickets, and it is going to be 4,000 total rubies. So it's pretty much in line with what they've been doing recently, outside of this more recent one that they just did with the EX On Hell event, where we ended up getting ourselves some tickets in there along with our rubies. So in general, not too shabby, but we've seen better, right? So that is what the login bonus is looking like. So the next thing here we're going to have is we're going to have a couple of in-game events, right? The first thing we're going to have is going to be On Hell's Bike Trip dice game. So this thing is something that we had assets in the data for the past couple of weeks, and lo and behold, here we are. So as you guys can see, this is going to look pretty much exactly what we've come to expect when it comes to any dice game. Of course, these dice games, in my opinion, are some of the more fun events that they add in when it comes to just your generic events. I really like dice games, and I always take really good advantage of these things because I feel like, especially whenever you get to the final trip on these total round counts, basically you end up getting extra rubies that way, which is always really cool. Unfortunately, this time though, they did go ahead and tether this to another event that we're about to talk about, which may or may not take away from our ability to be able to do as many trips around this board as we're normally used to. And that is of course going to be this event here. So this is going to be the way that you're going to be able to earn additional dice, right? So if you take a look here, you're going to see all these dice are going to be available through this bike trip event mission. So basically this time around, we are going to have event missions tied to the dice game in order to pick up more dice. As always, with any of these event missions, they tend to be really, really rewarding at the beginning, and then they tend to dry up over time, and it doesn't even really take that long necessarily for that to happen. So unfortunately, it is tied to this. We'll have to wait and see just how this ends up looking when it's implemented. I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say it's probably not going to be the greatest, especially it's not probably going to be as good as when we have world drops where we can pick up dice and just grind them that way. I definitely don't see it being as good as that. So, you know, in general, we'll have to wait and see what all of these missions look like. We can see a few of them here, but that's really all we know right now. So in general, we are going to be getting a dice game. This time around with the dice game, it is going to be tied to this event mission, and this is going to be the way we can get extra dice. As you guys can see, there's going to be round trip rewards, just like always, and the rewards on here largely look the same. So that's pretty much what we're getting for events, guys. That's all that's outlined in here. There's really not anything else coming. This is a total Tide Them Over update. Like I said, we are going to end up hearing about a new EX fighter, I'm sure. Probably this time next week, we'll know probably what it is. So in general, this is just going to be stuff to kind of keep us busy. So beyond that, you got your Ruby login as always, but then we have one other thing coming with this update, and that is going to be Dream Match Season 1. So Dream Match is returning. Now, Dream Match, for those of you who weren't around when it was here with us originally, this is probably the best PvP mode they've ever done, and people were really, really big fans of this thing. Everybody I knew pretty much was playing this, and it is returning due to popular demand. So basically, as you guys can see, this is also going to be coming with the 619 update. So Dream Match fans, Championship fans, PvP fans in general, rejoice. And there's a lot of information in this post, and again, I'll have all this stuff in the description. I'm not going to go through each and every single one of these things because, as you guys can see, there's just a ton of information in here, and really it's just outlining all of the information that you'll want to know about how the rules work in Dream Match. But there's a couple of little details that did stick out to me that I real quick here want to go ahead and go over. So real quick, if you notice where boss syndrome fighters used to be, it now just says the King of Fighters boss. Pretty interesting. So they took the syndrome off there. I'm not really sure why. I just thought that that was interesting, but here's what I wanted to go ahead and point out, right? So real quick, so if you take a look here at fighter entry, right? Added random fighter entry function. You have a chance to play Dream Match exclusive hidden fighters upon selecting random entry. Now, this could mean any number of things. However, if you guys think back to when we talked about those data mines that included Kusanagi in the data for Dream Match, if you guys remember, all of his information in the data was tagged with Dream Match. Part of me is wondering if he is going to be one of these hidden fighters that they're talking about. That could definitely be the case. So something to keep in mind there. But in general, if you go through here, you're going to find a lot of stuff in here that is going to make you pretty happy if you played the original Dream Match. So one of the big things that a lot of people really did not like was the fact that there was a lot of people out there that were exploiting the ability to pretty much just corner juggle people at will and really didn't give the person even a chance to play if they caught them. Well, it looks like they have gone ahead and changed some things here. So the emergency dodge can be used when being attacked with combos and blast skills while standing. So it is, there is some information in here. We'll have to wait till we see what implementation looks like because there's so much information in here, and I tried to read through all of it, and some of it sounded really good and sounded different. Some of it sounded like it was just little tweaks. So I would definitely recommend reading through here, but I do think that just going through this thing, if you take a look at all this information, there were several different things that were addressed in the interim since we last had this. And I think one of the big things that they wanted to make sure that they figured out before they re-released this game mode was to try and get people out of the corner. So let's hope that that is something that they have addressed and there won't be any more, you know, infinite loops of skills in the corner and, you know, just basic combos, and just it was just a mess for some people. You know, some people just zap the fun out of it for everybody, but, you know, hopefully that ended up getting fixed. It seems like they've made a lot of changes. We'll have to wait and see how this looks like in implementation, but in general, I'm pretty excited for it, and I think that that should make a lot of people out there very, very happy. Now, there's also going to be some new in-game event packages. I'm not going to go through these today. We'll talk about them when they're live in the game. If you look through here, you're going to see, and this is the one thing I wanted to point out, you can buy dice. So, in general, I get the feeling that this is going to probably end up being a dice game that a lot of people may or may not have been a big fan of by the end of it. Being the fact that it's tied to this event, I think that what they're probably trying to do is they're probably trying to cut down on the amount of people like myself who ended up just scoring thousands of free rubies on this last one that they did. I think it was right before Street Fighter or during Street Fighter. I think it was right before. And I did amazing with that thing, and I know a lot of people personally that did as well. So I get the feeling this is going to be nerfed by comparison. Time will tell. But in general, you guys, that is going to be all the things that are coming along with this, right? So there's a lot of stuff here. It's a Tide Them Over update, but the biggest thing, the big winner here is going to be Dream Match coming back. I think a lot of people out there are going to be over the moon that this is going to be here. And in general, I am very, very happy to see that myself. So, with that being said, you guys, we do have one other thing we need to talk about in today's video, because Manager Kiki is back, and it is his 1-year anniversary over on his YouTube channel. He has done a new Q&A video over on the channel, so let's go ahead and, as always, check it out. Alright, you guys, so the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to sit down and we're going to watch and react to the latest episode of Manager Kiki's dev video series over on his official channel. If you guys want a link to this video in its entirety, link will be in the description, so that way you guys can check it out for yourselves. When you do that, however, make sure that you go ahead and leave him a comment and wish him a happy first anniversary on YouTube, because as you guys will see in this video, he is going to be celebrating his first anniversary as a YouTube channel, which is really cool. So one other thing before we go ahead and start the video up, I just wanted to go ahead and point out real quick. Yeah, look at the guns on Manager Kiki. That man has been working out. Good Lord, I've never noticed that before. So yeah, I guess I know what he does in his spare time. Good Lord. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into episode 15 of Manager Kiki's dev video series. So, to start off here, there's not going to be a lot of information right here at the beginning. At the beginning here, basically what he's going to talk about is how there was a letter that was sent to the Netmarble offices. So I think this is like the second or third time they've talked about an actual physical letter being sent to them, and they've covered it on his channel. So if you want to get noticed, I guess send them a physical letter. But with that being said, the next section of this is really just going to be going over things that they've patched and fixed over the course of the past couple of weeks. Really what this translated to me as is, we pay attention, you guys, trust us. That's kind of what this smacked of, but hey, you know, who am I to judge? But they did go ahead and fix these various issues that he talks about here, which is really good. So nice to know that they are going in and patching and fixing these things. This is stuff largely that has been fixed in the past or we've already known about, so not much to talk about in here at the beginning, but that is going to change as we get further into this video, because once we get past this section, there's a lot of information here. So first things first, he's going to break some bad news to us here at the beginning, or at least bad news for some people. So the Allstar archive, as he mentions right here, for whatever reason, and he doesn't go into detail on what the exact reasoning behind the decision was, but the Allstar archive that was outlined in one of the previous dev notes is not going to be added into the game. This is something that apparently they did have finished and they did plan to implement, and then for whatever reason, it is not going to be added in. So that is something that everybody should be aware of as of right now, as of the making of this dev video here, which just came out today. They are not planning on releasing Allstar Archive, so keep that in mind. But let's continue. Just wanted to go ahead and make sure I reiterated that to everybody, because I know people have talked about this before. And again, I wish he would have given us a reason as to why, but apparently there was some sort of external issue. I don't know what that really means. I'm assuming that somebody in upper management or something said something and didn't want it. Not very sure as to why that would be though, so we'll move on. So right here, this is really good information. So this is something everybody has been thinking about and talking about. So King of Fighters Arena is that mobile game that is going to incorporate NFTs from Netmarble that they are working on. Now, this is something we've covered here on the channel before. There's very little information on this game in general right now. There was actually, coincidentally enough, a brief, very small update on King of Fighters Arena yesterday that I posted on my community tab that you guys can check out. This is basically, the long and the short of it, going to be a Netmarble produced King of Fighters game that includes NFTs. With a lot of the things and the very few things that we've heard about it and we've seen about it and seen from it, we've seen a lot of King of Fighters All-Star visuals used in conjunction with it, which led a lot of people to believe that it could be tied to the King of Fighters All-Star. I had assured you guys I did not believe that to be the case. And right here, he confirms it is a completely separate game. It will not have anything to do with the King of Fighters All-Star, and the King of Fighters All-Star is completely separate. So keep that in mind, you guys. It is not going to be tethered to the King of Fighters All-Star in any way, shape, or form. So let's let him continue. Just wanted to make sure that I was very clear about that. It's being developed by as a different game by a different team, completely different thing. So again, something to keep in mind. This right here is interesting too. So he basically right here is going to address the fact that everybody has been talking about how the game is just going to die, that they're planning on just getting rid of it. They're planning on cycling things out, being done with the game, blah, 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 blah. He addresses that right here and assures everybody that is not the case. So what else would he say? But I'm joking aside, that was a joke. I don't believe this game is going anywhere in the short term. I've said this a million times. Very recently, they signed an extension on their contract with SNK. I really don't see this game going anywhere in the short term. This has been something people have speculated on, talked about for years. I mean, if it were up to the trolls on the internet, this game wouldn't have existed outside of its first month. So in general, here we are 3-4 years later, and the game's still here. Just stop with the doom and the gloom. Just enjoy the game while it's alive and just move on, because the game right now does not seem as if it's going anywhere. And manager Kiki himself is assuring everybody, yeah, that's not what we're intending at all. So another thing that I wanted to make sure that I reiterated and I was very clear on, we can go ahead and continue the video. So right here, he says, Mr. Karate who joined the company at the same time as me, participated in the production of the project. And this is the playtest video. So this is like some early playtest stuff, I'm assuming. Not sure exactly. It's a mini game, according to what he's saying, that was developed by the dev team. So I'm assuming that this is something that is going to be coming at some point as a mini game. Not sure. So he was kind of unclear about that, at least to me, from what I could tell in the couple times I've seen this now. So right here, he's going to talk about Dream Match, which we've already established is coming back. Dream Match is very, very, very popular amongst the community. He's talking about some of the tweaks they made and telling us all that he hopes we enjoy it. So again, we've already gone over that information in this video. We don't need to go back into it, but great to see it back. So now we're going to start getting into some of the fan mail and some of the fan questions and so on and so forth, which is always really nice. It's cool to see that he does this. Very few developers are this hands-on with the community. So this is something that is very interesting here. But he talks about how people want to see characters that are going to be new fighters, that aren't characters that already have a bunch of EX and a bunch of FS fighters in the game and so on. This is something that they are going to take into account and try to take that into account when they make decisions on who to release, which is cool, but I wouldn't put much stock into that. I doubt he makes the final call on any of that. But right here, he talks about the manipulation of rates, right? And I just want to be very clear on this point. You can put the tinfoil hat on all you want. These companies would get shut down. There are literal laws in place in these countries to stop from rate manipulation. And if they were to get caught, and I'm not saying that companies aren't shady with things, but if they were to get caught, then it would be probably the downfall of a multi-billion-dollar company. So I do not think, and I do not believe, that the rates are quote-unquote fixed. People can think that all they want, but just know that the tinfoil hat is really what you're reaching for when you're talking about that type of thing. I do not put any stock into it. He basically talks about it again here. And he even, I'm just going to let him talk here, because right here, there is one thing he said. It's really kind of funny. I'll let you know when it comes up. In fact, let's see. I think I already missed it. But basically, he sounded kind of annoyed that he had to address it again. Like, come on, guys, really? So, yeah, just, can we move on from that? Right here's another big one. I have told you guys 100 times, and this is another point where he sounds kind of annoyed that he has to answer this. You cannot just willy-nilly, whether you have incorporated a collaboration in the past or not, just continue to roll out the same collaboration again and again and again, or re-release these characters again and again and again. Netmarble and SNK do not own the properties. They do not own the rights. They do not own these characters. Do not blame them for not just rerunning something overnight or rerunning something every couple of months. It requires a new contract, it requires new structure of a contract, it requires approval, it requires you to restart the entire process. About the only thing that you don't have to restart is remaking the assets, right? So in essence, what this means is it costs more money. So in general, keep in mind that yes, the assets are in the game. Yes, the assets are in the data, but no, the assets do not belong to Netmarble and or SNK. They belong to the IP holders, and they were just allowed to use these things and incorporate these things in a time-limited fashion via a contract. He talks about that here, he goes through it, and again, can we just move on from it? I completely agree. I want to see more collabs get rerun. I have begged for this a million times, but to just sit there and blame them and act like it's just something they could just willy-nilly throw out there anytime they wanted and they choose not to is completely and utterly wrong and uneducated. I'm just going to be honest. So, moving on. Next thing. I'm sorry, but that particular topic, I'm just tired of listening to it. It's like, I agree, partially, but it's not how business works. Oh. All right. So right here is when he talks about kind of the anniversary and so on and so forth. He is going to get into kind of a mailbag here where he's starting to talk about and answer some questions from people. One of the things he talks about right here is how he really wanted to start this channel to communicate with people and to communicate with the player base directly because he felt like it would help the game. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier about how we don't get this very often from developers at all. This is a very unique thing that we have with Manager Kiki with this game. And I'm very, very happy that he does this. Like, it's very cool that he decided to do this because it sounds like he made the decision. Ultimately, it was his thing he wanted to do to help the game. So yeah, I mean, watch comfortably for my own, like, not really. I think some of this is lost in translation. The motto of your channel is people can watch comfortably. I don't know. I think there's something lost in translation there. So right here is interesting to me. I actually thought that this was funny. I laughed out loud when I saw it the first time. So he talks about how one thing that's very difficult for him is coming up with new ideas for videos on his channel. I bet you can get plenty of suggestions in the comments section. But then again, I also thought it was really funny because I know the feeling. But then again, I do a video every day almost, so it is what it is. Here he gives a little bit of history on why he wears the Manager Chrysalid mask. Not much to talk about there. Basically, it's just he decided, somebody at business end told him to wear it during a stream or something, and he decided to do it, and then they were like, no, I'll keep it. It's kind of cool. So, I don't know. Not much to talk about. This section in general really doesn't have a whole lot here. Most of the big information, or at least the important information, or any of the pertinent information, he's already kind of gone over, because in general, the rest of this is really him just answering these questions. He talks about how his comments, which I actually recognize a lot of the people in that comment section, so shout out to you guys. But he talks about how it means a lot to him that there's people in the comments that are super supportive of him and kind of egg him on and want him to continue doing what he's doing. And in general, he's very thankful for the people out there that are supportive of him. So that's another thing he talks about in here. But in general, there's really not a lot more big information that he goes over in this video. A lot of this stuff is more so just for the viewers and less for just kind of the game in general. So I think that really largely, you know, as far as a dev video is concerned, this was a nice one. It didn't really give us much new information, but it gave us enough to where it answers a few questions. It assures some people out there. It maybe talks some people off the cliff on certain things. At the end of the day, you're only going to get so far with the doom and gloomers. So, you know, whatever he says to reaffirm people that the game is not just going to get shut down overnight, it is what it is. But again, I've been in this game since day one, and I've been listening to those same assertions for years now, like just years. It's mind-boggling. But anyway, you guys, I think that now is a good time to go ahead and call it a video. Like I said, he's finishing up here. None of this stuff is all that important. A lot of this stuff, again, is just basically Q&A stuff. So we can go ahead and call it a video here. I hope you all found it informative. Again, we are going to get a big update for the 6.19 update with these events and Dream Match returning. Make sure that you guys get your dailies done early that day, just in case the game were to go down for whatever reason for that update. But in general, let me know in the comment section down below what you're most excited about from this update. Let me know what you're most excited about from what you heard from this Manager Kiki dev video. Is there anything out there that you are still kind of worried about? Is there anything that you wish he would have addressed here? Let me know. But in general, I will see you guys in the next video. Like, share, and subscribe on your way out. And until the next one, you all take care. Peace.
Continue.